Israel seeks peace.
No peace can be settled by ignoring the Palestinians.
Why have the Palestinians in the West Bank become more Palestinian since the 5th of June 67 than they were
We
before?
are not Palestinians, we are Arabs.
27 years, homeless, stateless, refugees.
We didn't compel them to leave.
And we will continue way after the Palestinian thugs hijack our society
It's a big catastrophe, it's a Holocaust.
with their sick indoctrination
This is our legal right to fight against occupation.
and victim narrative.
We are completely committed to the peace process.
My grandchildren will live in peace because other grandmothers in Egypt, Syria, Jordan also want them to live.
I wish we had endless time, Joe Rogan style, but we are somewhat limited. So, can you sort of briefly give us your bio in a few minutes?
Yeah, of course. I'm an Israeli, a Druze, born and raised in Israel. My family is originally from Syria, Lebanon, and Israel. Like one group of the family, my mother's side was for like 1,000 years, since the beginning of the Druze. My grandfather was a commander in the Israeli army, the highest ranked, Druze commander. He was the first non-Jew that lit the Mesoah.
No,
Yeah,
really?
first non-Jew, first Druze, of course. So I grew up in a very patriotic Israeli family. My mom is called Medina. He named her after the Medina, And then I joined the military. I was in the special forces. I was an officer. I was in hostage rescue kind of units. And then I went working and traveling the world, building an orphanage in Africa, traveling, working Royal Caribbean with cruise ships all around the world. My kid got born. His mother is German, so we moved to Germany, and then I said I want to be with my kids, so I decided to take a break from the work, and I started making one YouTube a day while I would work to see a vlog. Like I would wake up 4 a.m, go to the gym, go to the office, finish my work in 1 hour, grab a jet ski or a speedboat, go outside with my drone, film some stuff in the Caribbean, come back, edit, go back to work. And I wanted to see if I can do it once a day while maintaining my work. And then I know that I can do that as a father while giving my, family time. And it did. And then I went up, the ship was going from Alaska to Hawaii. And I got out of Hawaii, I said goodbye. And I said, tomorrow I'm going to do another video. And tomorrow was October 7th. And I was like, wow, I'm not going to make a video right now from the Caribbean or Alaska, I don't know, with dolphins. And I tried to go back to Israel to join the unit, and the unit told me, like, listen, we're in the middle of fighting right now. They were rescuing a whole kibbutz. 4 guys fighting against like 40 Nukhba guys by themselves.
This was like the day after, like the 8th of October?
No, this was the 7th.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm calling them and said, listen, you can't come right now. So I thought, I'm not going to sit here and do nothing. And I studied the Middle East. I studied psychology, and I graduated psychology and history of religion, like Christianity, Judaism, Islam. And I'm an Arab, so I know the culture very good. So I saw already how anti-Semitism is going to go. And I saw that they're going to start making all kind of lies. And I said, you know what? Jews are my best friends. I have so many great stories with Jewish families that were with my family, like literally friends, brothers. And the world is going to turn against them, and I got to stand with my brothers and sisters. So I went and I made a video, and then I made another video, and I started doing video every day, and they just went viral. And then I realized people were hungry to hear a peaceful Arab voice, and they wanted to, so...
I know Jews are hungry for it.
Jews are hungry for it,
Are
and the people who
people-
love the Jews.
But
They're
how
not a
about-
lot.
How about I'm saying sort of the sort of wider, enlightened Western world? Are they also sort of hungry and looking for that kind of material?
Unfortunately, the enlightened Western world was kidnapped by jihadists and narcissist kind of ideology. So many of them have no idea what's happening. So they're liking the bad guys and they're hating the good guys. So they were not happy. They would, I see it a lot of times. They get angry at me sometimes that I'm not standing with the genocidal terrorists and rather stand with the peaceful, life-loving Jews. But there is still, I think, mostly Christians around the world. Like in America, there is Christians that really support Israel, or traditional people kind of, and less in the woke, liberal kind of world. They lost their mind, literally. So I started doing one video a day, and I did that for about, I think 70 days or even more. And then I really...
Did you ever have sort of a lull in what to talk about?
No, I have too many things I want to talk about. I'm a father first, So my priority was always, I said, I'm going to prioritize the family and the kid. So I would only have 3 hours a day to film, edit, put subtitles, and also translate videos in Arabic, because many people were sharing videos in the beginning of the war, and they were just wrong videos. They just were clinging, hoping to hear some kind of voice of peace from Gaza, and they'll see like someone speaking Arabic, yeah, okay, yeah, and they share it, and then I was like, guys, no, he's saying complete opposite. They're like full-on jihadists, and I will like post a video and translate and say no.
Yeah, I've used you as a translator for videos before.
Yeah, I know. That's how we started talking about
Selfishly, so.
No. I got a lot of that, and then I realized, how did I become an official translator for the Arabic language? I mean, I'm fluent; it's my mother's tongue, but there's like way more professional like linguistic people. But I realized they're not as easily reached like me. So people were asking me, so I'm gonna translate. And then Instagram was trying to they were shadow banning me and, blocking my content like crazy. And then I said, you know what, you anti-Semitic piece of woke kind of application.
I'm also blocked on Instagram, and I'm not even sure what for. I've barely done anything on
I got blocked for rolling wine leaves with my mom and talking about how much she loved her Jewish neighbors. This is what they blocked. So then I said, then I said, you know what, all this like fact checkers and everything, screw you guys. And I moved to YouTube. And I started making longer videos, and here I am, kind of doing it full time now.
That's
yeah.
Are you able to support yourself doing
In the
this?
beginning, no. In the beginning, I was only paying from my own pocket, only. And then after 90 days, I realized, okay, either I stop and I go back to my job, or I keep, putting my voice out there. And it's, you barely have any Arabs that put their face and their voice. Most are afraid. So I said, either I stop doing that or I find a way. So I opened a Patreon and I started monetizing my YouTube, and I'm getting there. I'm still pulling a lot from my own pocket, but I'm getting there.
But you saw, even to get started, you were doing it solely from your own pocket because you felt a passion for it, and it didn't stop you. And Baruch Hashem, Be'ezrat Hashem, you're already like on the way to.
Yeah, definitely. I thought I will make one video a day until every hostage is back. But all of us back then did not think there's going to be 500 days. So after like 90 days, I realized, okay, this is a long run. This might go for years. Gotta start making, providing for my family. So then I started focusing a little bit more on building like YouTube and etc.
That's amazing. Do you feel like the issue that's always brought up with Hasbara is part of the reason why I'm cynical about it. And Hasbara, of course, we mean like Israel or advocacy.
Yeah.
But the problem is that it's like preaching to the choir, that's you'll always get but do you feel like you've been able to cause anybody else an about face?
Yeah. I have a lot of criticism towards Israeli Hezbollah. I think they did a terrible job until October 7. And since October 7, they're trying, but they're still not focused. They're reaching their own people mostly. So that's why I kept all my videos in English and Arabic. And I started after a while I realized it's going to be very hard to change the mindset of radical Muslims and jihadists, even moderate Muslims, because they support very much Palestine and what's happening there. But I still have a lot of voices with them. Like I have relatives in Syria and people that I talk to, and I interviewed migrants, Syrian migrants that came to Germany. And then after the interview, they asked me to not air it, because I said, listen, it's not safe for us here in Europe. But then I realized that the crowd that I'm focusing most are the Western people that are just kind of sitting and not so sure what's happening. Like they don't know enough about Israel. They've been hearing all the lies about the victimhood of Palestinians, so they're kind of more inclined, but they're not so sure. Something is fishy. So I realized, that's the people I'm going to start addressing and making my videos for, to educate them, to teach them, to give them a glimpse of what it is to be an Israeli, an Arab Israeli, and etc., and to show them what a great nation is Israel. It's the only nation that treats Arabs fairly and kindly in the Middle East. And that's the one all the West, like the woke liberal people, are just going against. That's crazy.
It's very ironic. I mean, I don't want to say pleased, but I'm satisfied to hear you say that, because I have not lived in other Arab countries, and there are so many, to be honest, over 20, and I sort of always assume that there must be somewhere it is pretty good being an Arab living in other Arab countries. I mean, I assume that let's not make this generalization that really we're the best country for the Arabs. Maybe there are other countries where they feel, their human rights are respected.
No, we're the best countries for the Arabs. We're the best countries, I can tell you. For the peaceful Arabs that share Western values, like they can be super traditional, but they share Western values, by far. If you're a jihadist Arab, then yeah, probably you might have a better life in Lebanon, Syria, but that's not the Arabs that you want to have as your neighbors, and they're not good for their own country. Like the racism that Arabs suffer in Arab countries are insane.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, in the West, we tend to, of course, when you're far from anything, you tend to generalize about it. But you're saying there's actually like more racism within.
Yeah, I was listening to somebody talk about living in Saudi Arabia. It was a Palestinian interviewed on Yasmin Muhammad who was saying that even in Saudi Arabia, people are extremely racist against Palestinians. They tell them, go home, why aren't you fighting for your motherland? Like, that's an expectation they place on them.
Yeah.
So it's...
The biggest victims of Muslim terrorism are Muslims. Like, there's the biggest suicide attacks there, and, just raiding villages and killing each other. So they kill each other all the time. And even countries like Saudi Arabia or the Emirates, which are trying to move towards the right way, and you hear beautiful things from there. They're really solid in the way they look at it. Even there, different types of Arabs, different tribes, will be treated not as fairly as they will be treated in Israel. So that's what I'm saying. It is. If you're peaceful, loving, kind of Arab, doesn't matter, Muslims, Christian, Druze, Israel will be the best, will give you the best options in the Middle East.
You don't feel that there's any institutionalized sort of racism or haflaya, like discrimination kind of against Arabs? Or where is the line? Because, of course, there's always going to be cultural discrimination. Always. I mean, we're humans. You're always going to feel a divide from someone outside your tribe. But is there any kind of institutionalized sort of discrimination or also cultural, social discrimination?
So here's the thing. Everywhere you go in the world, you'll have bulliness, you'll have racism, you'll have, people with groups, coming together, colors, nationalities, religions, and kind of sometimes not treating well the other side. So yeah, there is racism in Israel like anywhere else, like in the US, like anywhere else. Actually, there's less racism in Israel towards Arab than in Europe. In Europe, they're more racist towards Arab.
How do you feel that?
Because they're just either looking down at them or very afraid of them.
Very afraid, yeah.
And
they probably don't notice that their fear is actually not humanistic, welcoming kind of approach to them, because they're so sort of still in many European countries so sort of pro-immigration and and against anyone that would argue it.
No, they will generalize very fast. All of you guys are Syrians or Afghanis, and the reason for that is because in Israel they're actually combating radical jihad. So they're keeping it a check. If you're crazy, if you're suicidal, we don't like you. But the rest, you have all the rights and etc. And also Israelis are more adapted in living with each other. Arabs and Jews and etc. So they know. Like every Jewish person, or not everybody, many will have an Arab family that are a good family, good friends, neighbors and etc.
People they buy from.
Yeah, people they buy from, etc. So they know, okay, not everybody's bad and not everybody's the same. While in Europe they don't. They're sheltered from it, and sometimes they're a bit scared. But institutional, like you asked, no. Institutional, no. I think Israel, I've never felt that because I'm not a Jew or a Druze that it hurt any job or any applications I had. Never. Actually, the other way around.
Could it be because you're Druze? I mean, Druze have sort of a...
Could be also, but most people don't know you're Druze when they see you. You look like an Arab. There's some people in the beginning also didn't know what Druze when we first moved to the city, But I got scholarships in university just because I was a Druze, because I was a minority, And I ended up studying in university for free. So Israel gave me free education. I volunteered with street kids and etc. And so I got some other scholarship from some other places, but just institutional-wise, they were very fair, very kind. And if you're a law-abiding citizen, you're going to be fine. It was easier for me because I grew up in Eilat. So I grew up in a Jewish city, so I knew the language very well. I didn't have a thick accent and the culture, so it was very easy for me to fit in. And also to realize this is not racism from Israel. This is just an ignorant person, and there's a lot of ignorant Druze and Arabs and Muslims and Jews, so it wasn't like, oh, they're racist. No, in every religion you have these kind of people. It was very easy.
So how is it that in sort of enlightened, educated Western societies they don't see this? They don't understand. They don't see what you're saying. What's apartheid? Like we're in an apartheid state. Why do people still think that?
When I went to England to do my first kind of documentary vlog about anti-Semitism there, I've met two Iranian guys, Yunus and Niak. Niak is the guy that keeps holding the posters and keep getting beat up by the British police for actually holding a sign that says Hamas is a terrorist organization declared by the UK law, and they arrest them. Either the Palestinian beat him up or the British police. And when I was there, he told me I'm seeing here the exact same signs that I saw in Iran before Iran fell, and that's why I'm worried. I want to warn them. And I asked him, how is it that the left always tends up to go and collide with the radical jihad? They're complete opposite. They're misogynistic, they don't support LGBTQ, they're not kind to women, they promote underage marriage and etc. And the other side is that's their flag. That's all they stand against. We're pro gay people, we're protect kids and women and etc. and empowering. And he told me something very interesting. He says, it always happens the same. They come together because they use each other. The radical Islam needs these radical left to soothe them in to Western society, to make them look not as radical, to make them look like victims, to shame and cancel anyone that tries to talk against them. And the radical left needs these migrants always because it's a group that they can take care of and help and bring up, and also they're going to become voters and they're going to vote for them and they're going to keep them in power. But he said, but they always have the same outcome. Once they reach the top, once they take down a country and they reach the top, they start killing each other. And he says always, that's always going to happen. So they use each other to go up, to bring down a government from any other reason, but once the government is back, they can't live with each other.
But when you tell somebody who feels like they're being virtuous and doing the right thing, that they're just shooting themselves in the foot, it's really hard to take somebody out of that worldview.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I feel like I've struggled against this entire time. People are in a paradigm, and to break them out of it through facts is nearly impossible.
Through facts, yeah. I think facts is sort of the critical point here. When we were talking about Israeli Hezbollah, and you were saying, you feel that they really failed, and maybe they're trying more since October 7th. I have the sense that if we're failing, it's not so much because we're not targeting correctly or not putting out enough material, but I think the Jews generally are like, these are the facts. 1948 and the we got it from the UN, and 67 was imposed on us, the War of 67, and their leaders told them that facts, and they're just no. On the other side, they're not. It's not so much about facts for them. It's first of all, they have a belief in God that they are virtuous, and to the extent that they can kill, and it's justified. It's all about God. It's not about dry facts. We're coming from an intellectual point of view, and they're coming from a sort of emotional, spiritual, religious point of view. And it could be that in the Western world, whatever, the woke, I'll use that word in that in those echelons, they're maybe there's something that captivates them about this. Their zeal. Maybe we don't have that same kind of zeal, and we're these sort of intellectual, especially Jews. They've always been known for using the sechel. So maybe there's something that's intellectualizing everything. So maybe that turns off people in the Western world. And they just want to kind of, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like if and I'm not the first one who has said this idea, but that if Jews were regardless of the facts, God put us here. Mm-hmm. We're supposed to be here. We're chosen to be here, and we're doing good for the world. We're doing tikkun, and that's it. We're here. You want to fight us? We'll fight you. You want to live with us in peace? We'll live with you. Let's share in our vision. You want to go, but we're here, and because God, and that's it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I feel that if that were more the approach, a sort of more traditional approach, then maybe that would be somehow more successful. Like, this is the Holy Land, this is our Holy Land, and
If we all wore strimals and black suits and walked around with our talitim on, and yeah, maybe if the whole country acted that way, they'd be like, oh yeah, they're traditional, they're indigenous.
they're indigenous.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I never thought about that. Like if the whole nation would be like Haredim kind of, you know. I don't think.
It's not exactly what I'm saying, of course. You know, that's
Yeah.
not really what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, to make everybody Haredim, you know, like
No,
extremized.
I don't know if that would have made them treat differently.
What does Rudy wear?
I haven't seen it, but yeah, you spoke
Yeah,
about it.
but I think definitely that's what I'm finding now. The best hasbara is when you're true to yourself. We're Israelis. We're not hiding it. We're Jewish. It's a Jewish nation. We're not trying to hide it. This is who we are. But when you focus more on the success rather than on justifying why we're good, because I've seen that in Germany. I've seen that very much. Like every time I go to a bar or something with some friends, and it just after some hostages were released, then, you know, conversation starts, and then like, look at them, they're holding them, they look like Holocaust survivors, and I don't know what. And then the answer will be, yeah, I know it's terrible, but you know, you guys are depriving them from food.
The war didn't start on October 7th. There was a lot of stuff that preceded
Didn't come out of
it.
the vacuum. It's an open air prison, and you know, and you start arguing. But whenever I go to the same bar, same people, and that just after Israel pulled the pager stuff, or Shaldag went behind enemy lines, you know, and took down a missile silo. Same bar will be like, wow, your nation is crazy, man. Israel is such a, wow, you guys are so cool. How innovative, how... When, you know, a female pilot is flying, you know, from Israel, a fighter jet, and they go and they attack targets in the Houthis or in this. Wow, Israel is such a cool nation, empowers women. So I felt like that's why I started doing now more and more episodes, interviewing friends of mine from the service and other like interesting, inspiring Israelis, because that's probably the best hasbara that I've figured out so far. Just stop being on the defense. Stop trying to show, oh, we're good. We are giving them food. They're just kidnapping, stealing the convoys. You know,
Stop trying to say we're good enough and start saying we're great.
Stop trying to
awesome.
pull to their emotions also, because you know it's not working. Or facts. You know, facts are not helping their emotions. Just show them what a crazy cool nation Israel. How kind and beautiful and tolerant and successful, and I think that's in general was always one of the best, you know, success and revenge, if you want to call it, of the Jews after the Holocaust. They chose, we're not going to choose death, we're not going to hold in the past, we're going to be as successful as we can, and we're going to, you know, and the world is going to be blessed by that. And that is, you know, many Holocaust survivors, you know, in the meet, when you hear the testimonies, they tell you that the fact that they survived, that they lived, that they brought children, and now their children are successful, that's the best revenge against the ones who came and tried to destroy us. And that's just, it's a culture that chooses life compared to a culture that chooses death over and over. So focus on that.
Yeah, you
So
don't
that's
think
what
that will make people say, Dafka, oh, they're so full of themselves and conceited and they think they're better than everybody.
Yeah, you have people that are just morally kind of, that's cool.
It's probably a peacock.
No, I love this place. You have people that are just morally bankrupt and like have no personality or you know, ideas of what they want to think, and they're always, they will say Osama bin Laden was right. They will say, you know, stupid stuff. Like, you can't really reason with these people. You know, so you don't even try. But then you have the ones that actually have a brain. They're just not that involved. They're living far away. They have their own issues.
Yeah.
And they just hear the media, and the media is full of lies. So you need to try to bring them a little bit better media.
Yeah. Bring them here if possible. And if
Yeah,
not,
I always say come to Israel.
Although there's plenty of sort of, what do you call it, rather than ecotourism, like humanitarian tourism, and they go to places and they come out feeling like Israel's horrible. Israel's an oppressor, and Israel did genocide. And
People go straight to the West Bank without even looking at Israel, and
No, but it's people that already came by us, and then they go and they start like, look at the Red Cross. I mean, okay, that's a prime example of a humanitarian organization. They're terrible. They literally became Uber Eats for terrorists. They're not doing anything. They're not condemning them. They're not condemning what happened to women and all stuff. They're just kind of going around and, you know, but they will jump and condemn Israel immediately the moment Israel will do something to defend itself. So in humanitarian world, and I had many friends from that world. You meet sometimes people that have, you know, solid views. And they tell you, I'm a humanitarian. I'm not going to politics. I'm here to help people. Give them water, give them shelter, help them build houses. I'm not getting in politics. But then you have a lot that are just very politically charged. and they usually hate the West.
Yeah, but I feel like it's been that
Yes,
way
weird.
for a long time with the Red Cross, at least. I mean, I don't know how much the rest of the world is aware, but during the Holocaust, the Red Cross, they came in and they saw the camps and they said nothing about it.
Exactly. It's the same thing. This Red Cross have seen terrible things in Gaza, I'm sure. Any condemnation, any pressure on Hamas, that's your job. Demand that you're allowed to go and see. Imagine if they would have demanded that and they would have been allowed to go and see the Bibas family, let's say, just imagine, when they were alive. And then they would have pulled some pressure and said, that's not a way to hold a woman, a mother, and babies. We demand that you either release them or that you move them to be in a place that have, and then maybe they would have been saved. So that's just one of many examples where they failed. It's literally their job.
I wonder where that failure comes from. Whether it's like really maybe a fear, maybe like they don't want to get on the wrong side of, or just like the justification that these atrocities or whatever that Hamas are doing, it's because of the depth of their pain. Like, wow, they're doing this to people. Look how horrible things must have been for them.
Yeah, maybe we have to be just as horrible as them, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, the Jews are in pain too." If we're no, I mean,
No, I think we should never choose the path of darkness and death. With the sacrifices that we have to pay with always choosing light, we should keep on that. You don't want to become like them. We will win, we will prevail. But I think these organizations, many of them are just literally, rotten from the inside. USAID and other ones, big ones, they've been systematically from the beginning, kind of brought by people who hate the West and try to always portray as if the West is bad and evil, and as if the West is bad and evil, and as if we need to pay for our crimes and everybody else is good. And there are like millions of dollars funded into this, and they just keep going with that. You end up having employees that are just brain dead.
That's very depressing. I remember right after the war, my kids were hearing about the hostages and all that, and my husband said to them, don't worry, they'll be all right, they'll be treated well, because that was his assumption, because that's generally, he said, hostages of war, where,
wow.
At least they want to keep them alive, they'll be fine, don't worry, they'll be that was his attitude, and very quickly became apparent, no, that those cards are, off the table.
That's what you would think, yeah. That's what you think, that's what you hope. That's what the West would expect. No way.
Sometimes, what I want to say is sometimes and I think also this view is sort of shared in the depths of our family that I spend a lot of time with, that the whole Haspara advocacy mission is just miyutar, unnecessary, and really we just need to focus on what we know we need to do, like fighting this war right. And in fact, to hell with the opinions of the rest of the world. They're largely what got us into a lot of trouble in the first place, listening too much to what they think of us. What do you think about that?
I don't agree with that. I think that was the mistake that we did before, because we ignored Hasbara, and then the pro-Palestinians were going around and poisoning, the academia and the Western liberal world just with lies, and Israel just ignoring it. Yeah, we know we're good. We don't need to prove ourselves to anyone else. And then we wake up one day and we see the level of anti-Semitism and hate and ignorance that is coming from this. It's just insane. So I think we should start now focusing on actually showing how great Israel is, and instead of being on the defense, also showing how terrible is the other side. And
that you don't feel like that's already being done?
They do it for themselves, but the Western media is hiding it.
It's hiding it, right?
So you'll have a Western citizen sitting here, and then you have the media here, and then you have the radical Islam world. They're doing crazy stuff, and the Western media will not show him that. And also will show him that anyone that tries to point out, hey, look what they're doing, they're very bad, he's the bad guy. So that is the mistake. We should tackle that. Not only Israel, the whole West should start, saying, what's going on with this media? Why are they pro-jihadist radical? They shouldn't. It's criminal. Yeah. And should stop that. So I think Hasbara should shift more into that, not for the sake of Israel only, for the sake of America and Europe and everything. Start putting the right, proportion and values in place.
That's part of like the grand redemption, I think, like the world starting to see the truth for the truth and lies.
Thanks to podcasts. Thanks to other alternative YouTube, yeah, because people are starting to say, okay, I can't trust this news company. They've obviously been bought and they've been told what to say, so I'm gonna follow someone that I trust, some voice that I've heard once or twice or 3 or 100 times, and I know, okay, he's trying to do his best to explain. Way more reliable than CNN.
I'm very inspired by what you say. Really, I find that really inspiring. In fact, what you're describing is a shift that you see necessary in sort of Hasbara, is focusing on what's great about us, and there's something very powerful about that, because it also means shifting your actual focus in life. Like there is so much good that comes out of living here. So sort of speaking out of that emotion, sometimes I thought Israel is so known for its high tech, also its military, technology, but how much is known about our musicians and artists and
our
filmmakers
culture, our diversity. Israel is like diversified on steroids. Like you come here, there's so many different cultures and religion living in harmony. Like why is that not being exposed?
Yeah, you have people like Yirmi and Tal doing all that.
Yeah.
Like Tal's a white colonizer.
It always cracks me up when he says that, yeah. Like
You'll interview people on the streets, like looking for white colonizers, and he'll end every interview with, "So, are you a white colonizer?"
He's more brown
what
than
are you
me.
talking about?
He's more brown and Arab than me, man.
Yeah.
There's some really good people doing
Yeah.
that work. It's about getting eyes on them, I think. Even when speaking to people in the West who are going to rallies and things like that, I mean, they're getting smaller and smaller, and I mean, I feel like more people are joining the pro-Israel rallies.
Maybe.
I'm not sure.
It's literally an effort for the future for your children. Like, you look at your kids and you say, I want my kid one day when he's 18, 19, backpacking the world, and he goes to a hostel. I want him to meet nice people. I don't want him to meet a toxic, purple hair girl that have no clue about life, or to meet radical jihadists that just, I want him to go and meet from all cultures. So you want the world to become more educated and better, because this is literally our job as parents. We enjoyed it. We had a lot of fun. Now it's our turn to leave it better for them to enjoy it. And that's where Hasbara, I think, should focus on showing the world who's the good guys and who's the bad guys.
I think sort of inevitably, also when I think about sort of what's going on with things coming to light, results of consequences of immigration, mass immigration in Europe, and I think perhaps more and more people are going to sort of get fed up with what they're seeing as the megama, the trajectory of what happens with some of these I hate to say, but Muslim populations, and maybe that's when they're going to realize, okay, wait, this is not what we want.
No, it's not working. We're not changing them; they're changing us.
Yeah.
And maybe then they'll be more open to hearing sort of the view that you're talking about.
Question is if it's going to be too late or not. That's what you're asking. Can they do it before it's too late? Some countries, I think it's too late for them. UK, France, Belgium. Some countries like Germany and others, I think they still have a chance.
Still have a chance.
And Germany seems to be waking up. That's what I'm seeing, at least. Not as fast as I would like them, but they seem to be waking up.
I think the UK is too, but you think there's just no coming back from the situation they've gotten to. Even France is making laws that are making more sense these days.
The thing is, these things, if they're solved in time, the solution is not that difficult. There's not going to be too much violence. At this point, there's enough, a big majority of radical Muslims living in these places, they won't go without a fight. So there's going to be a civil war. And then you have among you, very ignorant people that will just also rising strife because they don't know the right thing from bad, and they don't support the radicals.
I have to say, as talking religiously, I don't have this solid faith in God. I conducted Jewish life and all that, but I've always been somewhat on the fence and looking at sort of both views, faith, non-faith. But and the idea of Messiah never really spoke to me so much. I was like, Messiah, what is Messiah? Ooh, Messiah, you guys, you're obsessing about Mashiach. It felt very far, but on October 7th and what followed, more and more, not because things are getting good, or not because I see it, the Mashiach is coming, but suddenly it's everything is going so dark in the world that it sort of feels like from above. It's almost, the convolution of dark and light and the convolution of truth and lies is getting so thick that I'm like, this kind of does feel like end of days almost that we're approaching. And maybe only the Messiah can fix this. Sometimes it just feels like such a radical shift in the world consciousness has to happen that maybe this can only happen with the hand of God,
I think there's more unknown to the known when it comes to the spiritual realm. At least the way I look at it, there's just more that we don't know compared to what we think we know. But one thing, whether you're religious or not religious, is when you look at the story of the Jewish people and you tell yourself they've been peaceful and in a minority throughout history, and every time wicked force of planet Earth, undoubtedly, they were not only against the Jews, they were just wicked force. They were the ones who came and tried to destroy the Jews, and every time they failed. And all these empires came and again, with the pinnacle of the Nazis, and they failed, and the Jews prevailed. And you look at it and you say, how? Is it really, maybe there's a spiritual journey here? Maybe the Jews are, chosen by God to carry the light of faith to this world, and then other religions can take it, whatever they want. Or is the Messiah really going to come from the Jews one day, and there's a spiritual battle trying to stop that happening behind the scene, because I think about all options, I cannot disprove this one. I'm not saying I'm religious, I cannot come and say, no, that's not true, because maybe it is.
It's a nice thing about the Druze. You don't have to be stuck to one.
No, you don't have to. You can sit on the side and okay, what they're saying. Wow, that's really cool. That makes sense. I don't really agree with that aspect, but okay, what they're saying, and that's what the Druze kind of came and said. All religions hold some sort of truth. It's just different ways of looking at the same God. And but yeah, I just know I don't know enough, but I see something that I can't explain.
About the Druze, there's so many questions I have, because everybody knows, or at least this is what we learned, that the Druze are loyal to, their whatever nation they're living in, whatever country they're living in. So I'm like, wow, we crazy about the Jews. How about the Druze in Lebanon? What are they? Are they very, very loyal to Lebanon and whatever the rulership is there? And how about in Syria? Are they our friends there too? Or
so the Druze are loyal to the land, and then they come and say any government or entity that's going to be in charge of this land, if they're kind to us, we're kind to them, we're loyal to them, we'll be as good as best version of citizens they can have. So don't worry about us, we just let us mind our own. So the Druze in Israel are loyal to Israel, Druze in Lebanon are loyal to Lebanon, Druze in Syria are loyal to Syria. But what happened is when these countries start being very bad to the Druze, and the Druze need to rethink their loyalty. We can't be loyal to these genocidals that were trying to kill us. What happens is, by default, the Druze and the Jews, they get along very well. So even the Druze in Syria and Lebanon, when you ask them about the Jews, they say, they're our dear brothers, our cousins in faith. We came from the same, basically from the same God. So I have no problem with them. We like them. Now, they won't say directly we like them in Syria and Lebanon because they will get killed for that, but they have no beef with them. That's why you'll never hear of a suicide attack bombing or anything from Druze against Jews. They just have no interest in that.
they're living their lives.
Yeah, living their life. Now, of course, they're being educated by the education system there, so they hear a lot of lies. Luckily, they have relatives, so a lot of times, relatives from Lebanon and Syria, they'll be asking us questions like, is it really that the Jews are terrible to you guys? No, great. So, yeah, I thought so. But that's what they're telling us. Kind of. So you have that ignorance, but that's it's not out of hate, just out of lack of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
I know that in Syria, the Druze want to join Israel. They've put out videos saying
some of them, yeah.
Yeah. Some of them, because it seemed like, from what I was seeing on social media, it was their council of some sort that had voted unanimously.
So you have the Druze who are in the Druze mountains, kind of, right by the border of Israel. And then you have the Druze in Sweden, which is a little bit more inland. And in between them, there's Muslim lands. Mm-hmm. So the Druze that are close to Israel, I think they're the most one that are saying, just take us. We're here, same border. We share your same values. These guys are genocidal. Al-Qaeda just took over Syria. They're going to come and try to kill us. Mm-hmm. And then you have the Druze in Sweden, that some of them think the same, like, yeah, you know, I wish to, but they know that it's not going to happen. Like, Israel's not going to go and take all that land there, you know, so it's a problem. And then you have the conflict between the Druze themselves and in general. They're thinking, like, the only reason we survived so far is because we played the game very well. We never shared our cards, you know, kept it a bit to ourselves, and we just demanded to be respected and treated, like, you know, with dignity. But we're not gonna try to, you know, support this, support that, you know, stay out of it. And now they're with their back to the wall, where they realize that they have no alternative. Like, the other alternative is terrible. The Al-Qaeda, Al-Jawlani, Syria is not gonna be good for them. So it's either accept that terrible reality or just come and ask Israel to come and take us. And, you know, for them to come and say that, and then you had voices coming from the other side, no, don't take us. But that's, I expected that, because they want to keep their cards a little bit. Okay, if Israel doesn't take us,
And we've expressed this.
yeah, then we just, you know, we're doomed to a terrible fate.
Need some plausible deniability.
Yeah, exactly.
So, is there any hope for a government in Syria that, I don't know, the Kurds winning or something that would be favorable for the Druze?
Not with the way that the West sees the world today. The way that the West sees the world is very damaging to the Arab world, because they refuse to call the bad guys, and they, you know, refuse to support the good guys. So the way that Syria, like almost every Muslim country that fails, you get worse later. Like, you rarely hear of a Muslim society that, you know, had a coup and then they made something better after. It's like Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Syria.
Yeah, but is that because of the initial intentions of the coup, or is it because the strongmen in the coup eventually take power and impose their own will?
It's because strongmen in the coup take power, and because Islam allows radicalism to have a strong grip among them. So it's easy for radical groups, when there's like chaos among a Muslim country, it's easier for the radical ones to win and take over.
Do you think maybe now that Trump is in office, the view of the Middle East has become more rational? I mean, I heard Tulsi Gabbard speak about it, and she was spot on about literally everything she was saying. So it seems like that administration has a more realistic perspective.
I just wish he would have more years.
Yeah.
I'm sad that he have only 4 years, because I
JD
think
wins.
maybe I hope like someone like-minded of him will take over, because it's the first time that I'm hearing Western leader that is actually calling it as it is and offering like practical good solutions. You know, first time.
Yeah, I know someone who published an article about how basically the major shift that he's trying to make happen is like looking at the Palestinian refugees as refugees like any other refugee group that can be replanted somewhere else, rather than apparently the UN made a special condition for them that they're the only refugee group that the goal for them is to put
remain
them back.
refugees.
Yeah. And that's in fact why UNRWA was created, and that's so their interest is always to just keep the war going, because they need to, because eventually they have to be left here. And they're the only refuge group with that classification. So he's just like, no, like, let's move them over there.
The world needs a strong America, and when there is a strong America, the world start like making more sense. That's how I've seen it like happening. And then, you know, look, since he took office, so many things that were just seemed to be like crazy are just no more. Boys cannot compete in girls' competitions. That like seemed like the most easy choice. Like, why would you even think otherwise? You know, men shouldn't go to women's bathrooms.
Watching men punch women in the face in the Olympics was a wild time that I've never
Crazy. Yeah. And so many like cute girls that work all their life got robbed from their chance to win. And so many like make sense rules. Hamas is a terrorist organization. Stop supporting Iran. We're not gonna give them nuclear weapon. Who wants Iran to have nuclear weapons? So, like, so many things that were so lost and crazy in the last 4 years now are just making sense so fast. And a lot of it is because the world is also starting to respect America, because America is starting to be perceived as strong. And when the world sees America as weak, then everything goes mayhem. And I feel with the Democrats in America, and it's sad because I have great Democrat friends, but they're shifting their political party to become so weak and woke and detached from reality and just weird that the world is thinking it's like a joke.
Yeah,
These guys are lost their mind. People looking from outside. And so I just hope America can stay focused. And, you know, whoever comes after Trump also will, because that will bring stability to the world, undoubtedly. And
Wow, that's a very...
yeah, I live in the world. I need America to be strong. It's just like that.
Because in the span of my years, or at least my like politically aware years, America has not seemed the sort of like one loyal ally to Israel that, you know, they're kind of labeled as. So I've become a little bit cynical. I'm just like, fuck America, not fuck it, but like, like why are you listening to them? Like, let's develop our own, in fact, our own like real weapon technology, like independence. Let's not depend on them. Like, fuck them. We don't need their money. We'll manage without their money. But I mean, of course, historically, American support, especially Jewish American support, has been instrumental in the fact that we're here. And
Not only Israel needs America, and America needs Israel.
No, the world.
The West. You know, if it wasn't for America, we'd be living right now under Nazi Germany or communist Russia. So you have very big forces in the West at play, and you have the forces of the West and the forces of, you know, different radical kind of communism, I don't know what, and they're colliding in radical Islam. And America was always the strongest champion of the West that brought and promoted Western values. And thanks to America, Europe can live as they live, and all of us are right now. So people tend to forget that. Yeah, you can criticize America a lot, of course. There's literally a lot of things to criticize America in any country. A lot of stupid things happening there and all around the world. But in the grand picture of things, know your allies. Like literally, these are your allies.
yeah,
They share the same values like you. America can go and conquer any country in the world. They're not. They're not going and forcing their ways. And that's the thing about the West, like Germany, France, Israel. We don't have any need to go and just conquer Switzerland. Like, it's not on our agenda even. Like, they live like they live. We live and let's just visit each other. We like going vacation. They're coming here.
we're called colonialists. That's like the first
And the
foremost
crazy
slur
thing,
that
exactly. And the crazy thing, the only ones that are colonialists and the only ones that want to conquer the world are the ones that, you know, are enemies of the West. Like, if China had a chance, they will take it. If Russia had a chance, they will take the world. If Islam had a chance to enforce Sharia law and just enslave planet Earth and convert them, they will take it in, you know, in a snap of a finger. The West is just not interested in that. Democracy, they don't fight with each other anymore.
But why is that? Because once upon a time it was. You're all the, you know, the empires in Europe.
Because they separated religion from state. That was one of the big things. They came in and said, have faith, and have politics. Don't mix the two.
Well, China is an atheist country, if I'm not mistaken. Russia, I don't think is. I mean, they're supposedly Orthodox, but
Yeah, but their beliefs is like, it's almost as religion, basically. Like they cancel anything else, they don't accept anything else. It's a very totalitarian kind of set of beliefs, while the West says live and let live. You want to be a Jew, be a Jew. You want to think you're a unicorn, good for you.
so you're saying
You don't have that there.
You want to be a jihadist? Be a jihadist.
That's the problem. It should be stopped there.
Well, so it sounds like in the East they've replaced religion with the state or politics.
Yeah.
But that kind of seems to be what's happening in the West now as well. People
Identity politics.
Yeah, people are becoming so polarized, so deep inside of their political views that they're almost replacing religion with that. They go religiously to protest. They have these views that you can't convince them out of. You know, normally politics is something you talk about to come to a common understanding, but when it's a religion, you can't convince somebody otherwise. And that's what I feel like is happening in so many of my discussions, my arguments or debates on social media with friends, people that I've known for decades, and there's no budge, there's no give, there's nothing I can say that will change anything about how they perceive the world in so many instances. And that's a little bit of what's really been bugging me.
Yeah. It's identity politics, I call it. Like when people link their identity with the politics that they follow, and then with the leader. And then if you come and you'll say something about that, I don't agree with that leader, then they'll get angry at you because they feel like you're criticizing them. But like me, I don't care who is the leader. If the leader is good, I like him. If he stops being good, I don't like him anymore. You know, I'm not going to get offended if someone is going to come and criticize a leader that I, let's say, admired or thought he was good. But then when people take it identity politics, it becomes dangerous. I remember once in the U.S., a friend of mine, a very liberal friend of mine, asked me, "What do I think about Donald Trump?" That was before the first elections, and I said, "I think honestly, right now, America needs him because you guys went so weird and stupid that someone like that can literally put." And he got so angry because he said, "What about Hillary?" I said, "I don't trust her that much. There's something," and he stopped talking to me. Stop, friend.
Yeah.
Because I said I don't trust Hillary. And I got angry at him. I said, "Come on, man. This is
We were in the middle of a conversation.
you say you trust people that I don't approve with. It didn't even for a second make me not want to sit with you and watch a movie. I don't know what."
This is like an anecdote. It is related, but your views. Unai has I have to say, at least with his politics has transformed in a very good way. I would say, he's a thinker. And he explores things and he reads and he obsesses about things. So eventually, I feel like you're understanding things more clearly. But I remember as a kid, we had that friend Batya. Mom and Dad's friend Batya. Moshe and Batya.
Yeah.
She was a nurse, and I remember she was talking about the blacks that she works with, and it sounded pretty racist, And I remember you got very upset at her. I don't know if you said anything to her face about it, but you were totally disgusted with her. And I was like, Batya's cool. She's a good woman. She would never do anything horrible to even if she has these sort of whatever races, she's in fact a good person. She can have stupid views and still be I'm not gonna be like, Mom, you shouldn't be friends with her. She has
In my defense, I think I just finished college, so we got a lot of that.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's to cancel people just so they don't agree with you, or because it's the wrong thing to do. I remember one time I was about to go and walk all of Jordan by foot with the mother of my child, and she insisted on doing that. I didn't want her to do it alone. I said it's very, very dangerous and stupid. So she still wanted to do this. I said I'll go with her. So we stayed at my mom's place in Eilat, and as we were going, my mom came to give us the last word of advice. And my mom is a lovely woman, but she came and she says, "Please promise me one thing: never trust the Bedouin." And that European girl was and I was like, "Come on, Mom, just got it. This is no, I mean it. Trust me. I'm not saying all Bedouins are bad, but I'm saying that don't trust them. Unless you get to know that person very well, but trust me, be careful." And then the girl was like, "That's a bit racist." Yeah, older generation, I don't know what. We went to Jordan. We got robbed 4 times by Bedouins. Kidnapped. Literally. Yeah. It was just after that trip, she was looking at me "Wow, your mom was right." Now, I'm not saying all Bedouins are bad, but in general, there's some older generations that they do sometimes very stupid generalization, but there's not necessarily, either comes out of ignorance or it comes out of real life wisdom, and they just word it differently. Mm-hmm. Where today they will be considered super racist. What are you doing? It's
yeah.
Slow down with the racist button. Sometimes
Right.
just understand the context of where they came from.
Yeah. In
Before you
fact,
judge.
your story even makes me see the things that I hear that I am almost embarrassed to admit that I will hear Jewish Israelis say, which is you can't trust the Arabs. I've heard that a lot from perfectly good people, and I'm almost embarrassed to say that, and I'm almost well, cut this part out of the podcast because I don't want people from the West to hear it. But this gets said, and it's believed also. And I'm always I don't know, come on, there are people, and there are good people, and you've good people and bad people on every side, but they're you can't trust the Arabs. But they'll give an example of what happened in in Otef Aza, all these people, these Israelis that hired Gazans, and they were in their houses and they shared family events with them, and suddenly they go and take part in this massacre. So that's given us a sort of proof. But at the end of the day, even if Israelis, even if these good people that I call them good people, that they have that view, at the end of the day, I think if you put them in a room with an Arab person, they wouldn't do anything bad to them, and in fact, they might even not feel a real bias when they relate to them.
So here's the thing, I'm an Arab. I don't like hearing when people say you can't trust Arab, obviously, but I don't usually hold it against the people who said that. I kind of hold it against my people, and I say it's our job to bring a better representation of ourselves, so people don't need to say these things. Because right now, I do understand them. They don't know. They're very, they don't have too many Arab friends. All they see in the media, and what they hear, these stories, is crazy stories that actually happened. So the Arab world should go and work to fix that. And I think every culture, if you choose, and that's one thing cool about the Jews, they could have chose to be victims so many times, But they didn't choose to hold the victim card. They went and didn't hold the grudge against the Germans, and we hate them. They have great relations. There's so many Jews living right now in Germany, and good friends with the Germans, because they said we remember the past, but we choose the future, and we're gonna make a better future. And I think also Arabs and also Bedouins. It doesn't matter what. There is a reason that some of these stigmas got stuck into them, and there is many people there that says we're gonna bring a better reputation for ourselves, and that is the right approach. So it's just, I'm saying it's in no way it should be encouraged to say racist things, in no way. But you also should not come from your high chair in a Western kind of civilization and go there and say, oh, everybody's racist here because look how they treat women, or I don't know what. If you were born there, you'll probably be doing the exact same thing, if not even worse. So try to understand also where they're coming from and see between the lines.
Also, I think it's very easy to accuse other people of racism or discrimination against this and this and this group if you're not actually living with those people. I mean, you live there first, live and interact, and then, say I'm not racist. Like, you're not even... Or people that live in Tel Aviv, left-wing, Israelis in Tel Aviv that are very pro peace and get out of the settlements and all that, but they don't have interactions with Arabs hardly.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, there's one thing that I was quite heartened by seeing in both UAE and in Saudi Arabia, them condemning the Hamas, bringing out the caskets and celebrating the way they did, calling it barbaric and not a representation of Islam. I mean, that needs to happen more and more.
I think they're exactly where Islam needs to be now, because Islam is right now at a checkpoint, a crossroad, where they need to show the West and themselves what is our path. Are we choosing the Nazi-like jihadist pro-Palestine path? Or are we choosing the path where we're going to bring Islam to a place where Islam is going to be known for a religion that believes in tolerance and coexistence and treating people fairly, treating women's rights, children's rights, etc. Because every religion had that path where they were going. Because if you look at any religion, even in Judaism, you look at the story of Joshua when he was going into the land. He got commanded by God to basically go and kill every man and women and children in that land. That's crazy when you think about it. The men fought them, they lost, and now the women and children are hiding under bed, and you drag them out. So doesn't matter how many mental backflips you want to do in your brain to justify it. That's a crazy reality. So every religion have a path that you can justify theologically, but I'm talking a medieval kind of path that they went through. But the question is, where is that religion going? And you look at Judaism and Christianity, they're going to beautiful places. They're going to places where they're adapting.
My father also said that each of these religions, that you don't see them conducting these barbaric or war-filled lives. Is at some point they stopped with the infidel meme. They got rid of this idea that if someone's an infidel, you kill them. And Judaism did that. Yeah, our Bible is full of you have to
a
go.
Woman cheated on her husband,
and,
let's stone her. Yeah, I mean, but they're not doing it today, and they don't. You won't find almost a normal rabbi today that'll tell you that's the right thing. If someone will say he want to do it, he will call the police on him. Yeah. Islam needs to see which direction we're going. Are we going to start moving towards the West and just adapting and bringing the beauty of things that are in Islam and integrate them in the future, or are we going to go back to the barbarism, of the warlords and conquering the world?
Sorry that
Saudi Arabia, I feel, is doing that.
Yeah.
You think it's genuine?
I think it's a glimpse of they still have a long way to go with a lot of things, like the need and the desire to place all of planet Earth under Sharia law. That's a very big thing. That's an elephant in the room. You're sitting with the most moderate Muslim friend. If I'll ask you, would you like to enforce Judaism in all of planet Earth right now? No, it doesn't exist in Judaism. It's like, what?
Sounds really oppressive.
It's the other way around. Yeah, let them eat. They want to eat bacon, they can enjoy it. There's shrimps, why? Don't do what I'm doing. And also, it's harder to become a Jew. They don't. Same thing with the Druze. Same thing with Christians. Most Christians today, you'll ask them, says no. Live however you want to live. So they lost a desire to conquer the world, but Islam still have that. And I think it's going to be very hard to, like I said, elephant in the room. It's like, if you had the chance, would you convert all of us and enslave the ones who don't want to and put it under jizya? Ooh, not really, but my religion tells me. And so do you agree with that? I can't not agree with my religion. A Jewish person can come and tell you, I don't agree with that. I don't think you should stone women anymore.
Yeah.
That's many Jews will tell you that. I know it happened
Even
there.
rabbis will
Even
tell you
rabbis,
that.
no. In Islam, they're still not there. They want, they're like, I don't think you should ban marrying more than one girl. The Prophet did it. Like, I don't think you should say that you shouldn't share Sharia law and enslave the ones who don't want to or kill them, because the Prophet said it.
Yeah, that's
They're not. They need to move from that.
yeah. They have to move forward past Muhammad being this ideal of humanity. That's the really the root
Is
of.
that possible though? If he's
It's harder.
the religion, is that possible? Because in Judaism, what we did, we should give them our strategy. But what we did is our commentaries basically turn every sort of negative thing in the Torah about these people did into like this, how they were in fact tzaddikim, and they had this like a supernatural knowledge, and so that.
Yeah, and therefore comes from the will of God directly doing these things in the moment. So in the moment, like this
God
was the
made
God made
Jacob do this. Yeah.
But as a person, that's not who he is as a person. That's not who our model is. It's just what God wanted in that one instance in order to create the future that we need.
There's an academic explanation to that, actually, from when you study religions. Because Islam is a newer religion, it's considered a more advanced religion in terms of like religion, because it's newer. It kind of screwed themselves. They shot themselves in the leg, because Judaism focused on, faith was faith, politics was politics. Christianity is the same. Like, you had the Levites, let them deal with the tabernacle. They don't need to work, but they do all the religious stuff and etc. And the rest of the people, we work, and part of our taxes go to them, and we move as a. So they kind of separated it a little bit, and it was okay to criticize religion. It was okay to argue about it. And Christianity and Judaism, like the 70 faces to Yahudut, they like to talk and argue. Islam did the whole opposite. Islam says, no, you can't argue. We're going to put everything under religion. Taxation, citizenship, treating of women, everything is under the religion. We're going to seal it. So now if you try to criticize it, you're immediately titled as a kuffar.
Wow.
And it's harder for them to detach.
Interesting. I've never heard that. So that sounds like something that might actually be something that is possible to amend.
Very hard, but I think the job is on them. The West shouldn't be bothered with that too much.
Right.
Let them fix it. Let them fix their ways, and then come back to us and say, you know what? Let's live alongside.
Yeah. Do you think they want to though? I mean, probably the people that suffer from the consequences of these kinds of rulerships do, but
I think you don't have any other option. Either you let them be among you and they will take over, or you tell them, no, go and do your own way somewhere else and let us live our own life, and if you want to come back in the future, we can talk again. There's no there's A and B here. I don't see like in the middle.
Yeah, it's interesting also that religiously speaking, I mean, we're accused of being colonialists and all that, but I mean, even if you talk to Jews that want to go back to like the biblical era, like this kind of view of ourselves as well, the land of Israel is pretty clearly delineated. Like, we would love to conquer all of that, and to be honest, I would love to see Israel like conquer all of biblical Israel, but that's it. There's nothing like about, and it would be nice to also have, Iraq. Like, no, it's, that's it. These are the limits. So kind of like, maybe we could just sort of convince the world, like, can you give us a little bit more, and we'll control this. Everyone under, the Yehuda Shomron, and they'll all be under our country, and it'll be great for them, and like, it'll be good. Like,
well, it'd definitely be better to live under Israeli government than, Muslim government. Realistically, I don't see that, kind of happening. I do see realistically Israel, give them the land that they have and just stop trying to genocide them. But I think the other, through history, people made compromises on land back and forth. Yeah, big empires became smaller, became big, became smaller. So I think, right now, if I was an Israeli, if I was a Jew, I'm in Israel. If I was a Jew, I'll just, don't raise your expectations of taking Iraq. Probably not going to happen anytime soon, and it's going to be very complicated, and it's probably not necessarily going to be good also. You really want to rule over, 8 million Jews really want to rule over 300 million radical Muslims. I mean, seriously, probably not. Sometimes
Can we settle this issue now, Lola?
that's just giving practical advice. Seriously, it's probably going to be good for them, maybe not so good for you guys. So take what you have and just keep doing a great job and making it a great country. Now that could change in 25 years, 50 years from now. I don't know. It's like things change, but right now, seeing it, I think
I would like to see at least the Judea and Samaria be Israel, no longer be considered occupied. No longer be considered
I'll give you
West-
another vision that I would like to see, which I think would have been amazing. Imagine now Muslim countries around Israel abandon their way of jihad and become peaceful and tolerant, and they start having as if in Europe, open borders between countries. You drive from Holland to Germany, don't even cross the border. You can go work in every country freely. You respect, everyone's under the same kind of law. The Middle East will become richer and more successful than Europe anywhere in the world. They have the weather, they have the resources, they have the manpower, the science, the Jewish brain. It's going to be crazy, beautiful. That would be a beautiful, realistic kind of future.
Jewish brain in an Arabic body.
yeah. Very mighty, very hairy. but
Hairy and smart.
Hairy and smart. Yeah. No, but seriously, how that would be beautiful. But the only one stopping it is Islam. They're the ones stopping it. I think the Jews will definitely go for that. What? It'd be great. We can go visit wherever you want. Come, tourism, science.
So, sorry for bringing it back to Syria again, but I think what they're going through right now is really interesting and can go in so many different directions. Are you aware that recently, the past couple of days, they brought Jews from Europe, I think it was, the Syrian Jews, back to see their homes?
Really?
Yeah, I'll send you.
In Syria?
Yeah, in Syria. I'll send you that. I wish I can find it.
Syrian Jews.
Yeah, Syrian Jews, and they're with the government touring things. Now, I have to check that again because I was shocked when I saw it, and I kind of saw it in passing. But I think there might be some, I keep hearing that Al-Jolani is, an Islamist and can't be trusted, but he's also making pleas to the West saying, we're going to moderate. And so I don't actually know what's happening in Syria, but I'm very confused, but also there's a slight bit of optimism that I'm saving for it. But you also see what they're doing to the Alawites in the streets and all that.
Here's the thing, we in the West, that's our fault and our strength. We always want to believe in good. So you want to always hope for the slightest chance that there is innocent people in Gaza, the slightest chance that there is a shift of regime in Syria and they're going to go good because he shaved his beard a little bit and you have a jacket now. He's dressing like Zelensky. Wow, you know what, maybe he is. But then when you talk to the Syrian friends of mine and relatives, they tell you, are you crazy? It's like he's Al-Qaeda, ISIS. His right hand, there's videos of him beheading people and enforcing Sharia law and, abusing women. It's just, Al-Qaeda just kidnapped the government, kind of. So they didn't change in a day. So, again, I'm living in Germany and I'm an Israeli, so I don't live in Syria to see it, but I hear it from my relatives and friends, and they're not very optimistic. They think that the Europeans and the West are just falling again for that same trap of hoping that the Muslims will fix their ways by themselves.
Gosh, I think there's so much good stuff to get from you. We could do this for another few hours probably. I know I kind of cut off the conversation.
No. It's also I get it. We gotta move on. I think you have another appointment today as well.
But wow. It's been really an honor and enlightening so much to speak with you, and wish we could do this again sometime.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm ever back here, I'd love to bring my kid here.
Yeah.
It has the coolest backyard here, animals and
anytime.
Goats, sheep, dogs, peacocks.
Yeah. So your son is in Israel, actually?
No, he's gonna come in 2 weeks.
He's gonna come. Okay.
2 weeks.
Bring him here. I'll promise we'll show him a good time.
We're gonna be in Eilat with his grandmother. He's gonna be for 2 weeks with his grandmother, and I'm gonna be every day with him on the beach. That's what I said. Sheshbesh, hummus, and my friends can come visit me. I'm gonna be in the same spot on the beach for 2 weeks.
Wow.
with my kid.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Where's your spot?
I'm not gonna say it online.
Probably the same spot as we.
Probably the same spot. Yeah, exactly.